everything else versus Bitcoin essentially gets spent and dies.
I want to be able to have reactive security, and I think OpVault is today the most straightforward, easiest to use way to do that.
I will not be insulted by a clockmaker.
Overall, these kind of ways to make the network easier to both build on and interact with, I think is a really big deal.
If Bitcoin existed when we started Twitter, we would not have to go down the ad model path. I mean, it's simple as that.
Integrating Lightning into a social network is the killer app.
Hello, and welcome to the Bitcoin.review podcast, where we explore developments and projects with the people who actually make them happen. The show is supported by Pod 2.0, Sat Streaming, and CoinKite. If you're a new listener, I'm NVK. I run CoinKite, where we've been helping people secure their Bitcoins for over a decade. We make the cold card and fun products like the block clock. You can find more information about it on coinkite.com. Hello, and welcome back to the Bitcoin Review. It's been what, 3-4 weeks now. I was in Tokyo for Nostrasia. And that put the pod on the back burner for a little bit. Too hard to schedule things on 13-hour time zone. Plus, I don't think I was in good enough shape to do it. Goddamn jet lag. All right, hello, folks. I have Mr. Craig back.
How you doing? Great to be here as always.
Mr. Rijndael.
Hey, great to be back. Luckily, nothing happened in Bitcoin in the last 3 weeks, so should be a nice short list.
And Mr. Odell on duty.
Always a pleasure. What you said about traveling for 3 weeks, particularly if it's, for not a Nostr event or a Bitcoin event or something like that, when you see all these people that you're friends with and you want to hang out with, it's really hard to actually do a podcast or get any kind of work done. So I echo that sentiment. But I will say,
I don't know how you guys do it. Seriously, like every week.
I was going to shout out myself that we still do it every week.
Every week forever? Come on. I know that's impressive. I mean, listen, the quality of the content is a little bit lower, but
yeah, we even say it. We're like, okay, we got to ship something, so let's just fucking ship it, get it over with, and then get back to the party.
Are you kidding me? I love it. I am a diehard ride or die freak. I just don't participate in the chat.
It's great when we had you in the live chat the other day, though. It's great when you join us.
The Streamster thing is awesome. Like, because YouTube chat is a shitcoin.
Well, so what do you guys use for the chat?
Yeah, zap.stream.
Chat.stream, that's what you guys use?
Zap.stream.
Oh, cool.
Zap.stream, okay.
Are we bullish on this podcast? Or are you guys bears? We don't talk about price. But I'm talking about emotions.
Well, I mean, the vulnerability disclosure list is long, so we're gonna see how everybody feels.
I'm a permable on people permissionlessly building shit on Bitcoin. So like number of cool things on Bitcoin go up.
Yeah, the deterministic optimism. I need to change my nick again back to that. It's just fitting. All right, housekeeping. The Bitcoin Black Friday deals thing, subscribe. The link is on the show notes. There's going to be a lot of different Bitcoin companies on it. And if you're a Bitcoin company, it's free to join it. We run it just for the shits and giggles. And there's going to be a mailing list, I think, too, something like that. So go to the show notes and click on links. SATSLINK official announcement video from Nostrasia. That was fun. I had the creator of Facebook help me on stage. So we had a very good time doing that. I don't know if you guys saw the video, but he was properly identified.
That was badass.
Yeah, so go watch that. That was fun. It was cool having the devices working there. People are actually using them.
Yeah, I haven't seen the video yet, but I saw a screenshot that was like, I don't have slides. This is all made up. Like, we're just going to do a demo or something. It was something like that. So I'm going to watch it.
It was kind of like that. I made the slides on the airplane. I feel I put a warning ahead of time.
Perfect.
I was so jet lagged, dude. I was like pumped, right? Like I'm ready to go my presentation. And then the first two presentations got delayed and it was dark. So I started to fade and fade and fade and fade. By the time I get to the stage, I'm just like trying to plow through it, man. Like it's just like the brain is not going. It was hard.
You couldn't see it. It all went well, I think.
Yeah, I think Johnny did some editing for the reposting of the video.
Nice.
I mean, you were straight giddy when Dorsey came up to do the demo with you.
That's it was pretty funny. I did tell him ahead of time I was going to call him up to do it. I didn't put him on the spot.
I was like, when I saw it, I was like, MVK's in his element right now.
It was fun. Good helping hands. You know, he's presented a product or two before. So yeah, Nostrasia was pretty awesome. Might as well talk a little bit about it. There is a lot happening in Nostr, like a lot, and things seem to be a little bit more grown up too. The Japanese Nostr community is ginormous. By the way, it's funny because it was essentially a Bitcoin conference, right? Like, I mean, like maybe there was like one dude that's like not a Bitcoiner, including the Japanese Nostr community, right? Like, it's like there was one guy with an Ethereum t-shirt. He was very confused. and there is always like that one person who says that we need more than Bitcoin on Nostr, but you know, it's okay. I mean,
yeah, I'm really looking forward to like the Nostr devs who come in and are like, why are we doing schnorr signatures with this weird curve that's not supported anywhere else? Like, what the fuck is this? Yeah,
that's right. There was more conversations. I don't think it was on the stage about our the NIP 41, which is the key rotation NIP.
What was that discussion like?
You know, everybody seems to be pretty welcoming of it. There is a few voices that don't like the dependency on
OTS,
on open timestamps and Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And you know, my answer to that is like, you depend on electricity and internet.
Yeah.
For Nostr. So like Bitcoin is just another constant.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like there is no better way that does not involve some DID like insanity of complexity to do key rotation. It's a very hard problem. Key rotation is almost an unsolvable problem.
Well, and like the problem with DIDs is that you still have to have DID resolution, which means now you have a dependency on like an unbounded number of things.
Yeah.
Right? Like it could be on Bitcoin, it could be in an Active Directory server somewhere, like you don't fucking know. Right? So, you know, Bitcoin's going to be there no matter what.
Yeah, like, because see, like the whole point, like when I was talking to Pablo, like we were sort of like working on this, was like, can we make this ultra simple? It has to be the simplest thing. It has to be backwards compatible, right? So you can choose to use your master key as a master key, parent key, or as your key, right? So there is no, like, clients can be dumb about it. Anyways, it's kind of clever.
The beauty is the simplicity.
Yes.
And like, I feel like most of the arguments against it are like, oh, we should do something more complicated.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Like there is no middle ground to this kind of stuff. It's like you either be like stupid simple, and it does have trade-offs, or you have to go some crazy complication in order to achieve the same with different sets of trade-offs.
And I mean, like, I'd argue that Nostr's superpower is the simplicity.
Yes.
Right? Like the reason why it took off and hit the hockey stick is because, you know, you can sit down with, you know, any WebSocket library and something that can make schnorr signatures, and you can start publishing notes on Nostr, right? And like, that's all it takes. And it's very, very, very simple to integrate.
It's like the Bitcoin argument all over again.
Yep.
Bitcoin versus shitcoins.
Well, remember, right? Nostr is time agnostic, right? Like it does not have time in its encapsulate. I mean, you have soft time there just as metadata, right? But but it's not like there's no enforcement of time. So that note exists ephemerally, you know, in the ether of time too. So like, it's very hard to enforce anything that's time related, like what happened before and what happened after for key rotation. You still have, anyways, it's a whole other rabbit hole to go down. But there was conversation about that. There's conversation about a bunch of stuff. And I think the space is evolving and growing. And I think it's going to be a huge feeder for Bitcoin Lightning use. So it really ties that everything back together into why Bitcoiners are into this. You know, I think, what is it, like the majority of Lightning is probably like zapping still.
It's the majority of my transactions.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's either like zaps or circular rebalances.
Right.
Yeah, well, circular rebalances don't count.
Respect the demand, right? Respect the market.
I think it goes like Bitcoin feeds the early adoption of Nostr, which is what we witnessed, and then at some point it flips, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Nostr starts feeding like a ton of people. Their first interaction with Bitcoin will be on Nostr.
Yes,
And it'll be like they'll send a shit post
absolutely.
or say good morning, and then someone will send them freedom money, and they'll be like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yep.
They don't even know, right, that a Zap is a Lightning payment that is Bitcoin. And the good thing is Zaps are small, so they work, right? Because Lightning breaks as soon as you want to send more money in most case scenarios.
Especially since it's just between custodians for the most part on Nostr.
I mean, the ultimate like Lightning solution that works is hub and spoke, right? Like it's always been.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we've talked already for near 15 minutes and we haven't started the list. That's perfect. So why don't we start with vulnerability disclosures? A phishing email is being sent out impersonating Blockstream. Don't click on links. So allegedly, this was a leak by their store or drop shipper or whatever it was. There's some contesting of that, but there's also a lot of emails from people who just had their email on their system. I don't think we have heard of a final resolution on this issue. You guys know anything else that I may not know from the last 3 weeks?
Not about this one.
The comms have been disappointing. I mean, there's been very little updates or any kind of activity there.
Yeah. So don't use drop shippers.
But in general, I mean, if you're a company, you should be very careful about all dependencies, trusted third parties or security holes. And you should treat people's private information like you would treat private keys. Like treat it as it's a very important piece of information that someone's trusting you with custody of, and be very careful with it. And then as a user, try and limit the amount of information you give these companies in the first place. And second of all, if you use a hardware wallet, one of the cool normalizations of using a hardware wallet that people seem to forget now is that when you restore from a hardware wallet, you enter your seed directly into the hardware. So if you are using a hardware wallet, never put your secret backup words in a computer or a phone or anything else. It should be going directly into your hardware device. 99% of situations are solved by just that.
Yes.
Like most of these phishing emails are literally like, enter your words.
Let's go to the fake ledger app in Microsoft Store stole 768,000. Again, right? Like hardware wallet branded apps wallets are a shitcoin, right? Because see, it's going to be in the interest of every hacker out there to have a fake CoinKite wallet on the App Store if we have a wallet in the App Store, right? Because now the user is trusting the whole chain here. And, part of the reason why we don't. Now, that happened there. And then, further, there's the Apple AppStore iOS that had like a bunch of fake wallets too. Like the Samurai wallet, Samurai management. Love it. Finally, there's Samurai for iOS. And there was Electrum as well, Electrum as well. It was a disaster. Another one. It's a problem, and this stuff is going to grow.
But that's why, like, I don't know if, I think there's an argument that like users aren't normalized on searching for a CoinKite wallet in the store. But I think there's something to be said about, regardless if you do it or not, people will attempt to do these scams. Like the example you used with Samurai, like Samurai doesn't have an iOS app, and so Scammer made one. Electrum doesn't have an iOS app, so Scammer made one.
They do. They have an iOS app. Well, they used to at least.
I know they have an Android. And then like another example is like, I don't use TikTok. I don't use Instagram. You know how many impersonators are probably there's probably Odell's masquerading on Instagram, and I have no fucking idea. And I think at some point you just have to be like, whatever, people have to take personal responsibility.
Yeah, no, it's pretty brutal. But like, I can't imagine how a noob exists in any environment where like, the software on their walled garden app stores is trying to take their money, right? Like it's hard.
Well, like app stores really aren't set up for this, right? Like, usually if you think about fake apps or malicious apps, it can be tricky or a long road for a malicious actor to monetize a malicious app, right? Like they steal some data from you, they sell it in aggregate with lots of other people's stolen data, and they make like a few pennies on it. With Bitcoin, it's like the best way to monetize malware or malicious apps, and
it's perfect.
And they have like 100% hit rate, right? Like if you get somebody to use a malicious Bitcoin app, like you are getting money out of them, right? So I think in a lot of traditional mitigations, like, okay, if you download a malicious banking app and the banking app calls your bank, and the bank can use like app authenticity APIs from iOS or Android, or if they can do something else to like sanitize data on their side, then like it's actually probably still not the end of the world. But self-custodial Bitcoin is like not something that, the iOS App Store and the Play Store are set up to handle.
Yep.
From my side, I'm seeing this more and more. I'd say about once a month there's a Sparrow wallet scam app, and like an Android or an iOS or something or other. There are constant websites out there that are trying to masquerade as sort of help sites. It's just a constant war, and I think it's growing as well. So who knows where this is going to end up? But I think we're going to see a lot more of it.
I think we haven't even started. I mean, because we don't have mainstream yet, right? Like once Bitcoin is like TikTok big, right? Like it's just gonna be insane. Like the amount of scamming, like the scammers just can't wait. Like it's gonna be huge.
It's part, especially when you start like mixing in the LLM shit too.
Yes.
But look, I think this is just part of people's learning experience. Like when we got into Bitcoin, it was way more difficult to lose your money than it is today. And we figured it out. We lost a lot of money. I lost so much money, and then I fucking figured it out.
So much money.
You just have to survive.
Remember the RPC password on Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Like if you didn't have an RPC custom password set up on Bitcoin Core, like money gone.
Yeah, I mean, like this stuff's going to get better, and like apps are going to have to start using more like attestation features and things to protect their users from malicious apps. Like it's just a thing that's coming.
Yeah, I mean, attestation is going to be, the name of the game for both hardware and software. There is no way around it, right? Like everything is going to be malicious.
Yep.
Like everything.
Yeah, I mean, signatures everywhere. Speaking of which, did you see this ESP32 fault injection or no fault injection attack?
Yeah. So this is huge, right? So like, for example, Jade uses the secure memory on ESP32, right? And this is how you run custom firmware on a ESP32 that has like security between quotes.
Yeah.
Right? Like, remember, ESP32 was designed for lamps.
Yep.
Right? For you to make like a cool lamp that changes color, right? Like not to make a hardware wallet. It's a very cool platform, right? And you can do a lot of it. It's just that like it's just not for you to put like Bitcoin secrets in it.
Yeah, my understanding of what's happening here, I like the researcher who posted this put like a little video and he wrote a blog post. I skimmed through the blog post, and my understanding is so ESP32 supports this execution mode called execute in place, and the idea is that it just like executes instructions directly off of the ROM. And so the way that ESP32's secure boot works is that the bootloader will like validate a signature over the ROM. And then after it validates that signature, it just starts executing it.
Do you know why, right?
What's that?
Do you know why?
Yeah, memory constrained, right?
No, so this was designed so that the Chinese companies that write the software for their ESP32 lamp don't get their software copied by the other Chinese companies. It was designed so that you can't steal the firmware from a unit that's running. It was not designed to actually store secrets in it.
Right. Yeah, and so what this guy did is basically after the secure boot happens, he just soldered basically a switch to just flip to different ROM, and now it starts executing that code, right? Which is great. Like it's fantastic.
It's exactly as it should be.
Yeah.
Like this is perfect. So, but it's cool. Like I mean, like we're all sort of like learning, right? And we're building ESP32 products too, and like reason why I wanted to put a secure element on it. But like the key is each platform needs to be respected for what it's capable of. Right? Like, and there is limits to everything. And I think like that's the most sort of important takeaway. And we're going to learn this as the honeypot grows for people to take money out of these things. I guess talking about hardware again. So yeah, the Raspberry Pi 5 now is giving a unique identification number on every unit. This is a huge problem.
Amazing.
They can tie your KYC information on Amazon to that serial number. This is how Apple always done with their devices, right? That's how they know who has a device and can break devices that can do all their sort of like crazy security stuff, right? So now I'm not saying Amazon is doing this, but like totally trivial to do. And they might actually be doing even without knowing, right? When they scan the product on the way out, right? They might be doing this for warranty reasons or whatever. So watch out for that when you buy Raspberry Pis. Buy them cash somewhere. Don't buy them off of websites.
Yeah, the actual, so like there's a QR code on the box.
Yes.
That matches the identifier that's on the chip.
Yes.
So like if you have the box in your hand before you sell it to someone, you can easily track the identifier that you sell it to them as. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of people shouldn't use Raspberry Pis for Bitcoin nodes, but a lot of Bitcoiners do, just from like a performance standpoint, at the very least.
Well, it's a terrible platform.
But this is not an attack on Bitcoin. Like, I think there's this interesting, when you start to, like, the different things that people are doing with like 3D printers and drones and all this other shit, like, it's going to get really interesting out there in terms of trying to like clamp down on essentially like open source development that hits the real world, right? Like they like have 3D printers, they want to be more cucked, drones, they want to be more cucked.
Yep.
And these like I feel like these little single board computers pose a threat to them in terms of like getting around those restrictions.
Oh, no, for sure. And it gets worse, right? Because like the serial number is on the chip, right? So you connect, say you build a 3D printer, right? With this Raspberry Pi, you could be sending that serial number information to like whoever is on the other side now, right? Over the internet. So they know exactly who you are now. Part of the reason why like I'm like, I hate this platform. Like Broadcom is the evil empire and they make the main chip on a Raspberry Pi, right? Like Bitcoin should not touch this fucking platform. Broadcom is awful. They make the basebands for most phones, which is also how they pound you remotely too. Like it's just so bad. And it's all closed source too.
If anybody wants just a really deep cut like Twitter troll, make a fake website offering to sell 80% lower Raspberry Pi 5s. Like unserialized almost Raspberry Pi 5s, but they're missing like two pieces that you can like install at your house. That'd be like a great like very deep cut troll.
That's great.
Call them ghost nodes. It'll be great.
Yeah, I mean, and there is other platforms, right? They're all comparable, right? Like there is Rock64, there is Banana Pi. There's like I'm also talking about things that are probably a few years old now, but like I'm sure there's like a bunch of new stuff that's great. Even ESP32 is better, but remind you, right? All hardware chips are serialized. All of them, 100% of them. Okay, so it's just that how they get exposed and how they get accessed. So air gapping things is a huge plus here. You're gonna have to air gap your 3D printer soon. You should already. Yeah. Sorry, on that vein, you guys know, right, that, for example, you can't edit bank notes on Photoshop, most government IDs. It prevents you from editing stuff and saving the files. And it probably sends a ping to the feds too, right? Like, I mean, I can't imagine it doesn't send Creative Cloud, right? Like
most like all-in-one printer firmware actually will like recognize, dollar bills and stuff if you're scanning it and trying to photocopy it.
Maybe they still print it, but they put some crap on it. Yeah, it's a dark world out there with this stuff. All right, next.
They've been doing that for a while though.
Yeah. The banknote shit was like way back.
Because I remember I was like a kid, I would try and like do it with my dad's Xerox at the office or whatever, and it wouldn't work.
Yeah, it's
it's such such an obviously bad solution to trying to deal with the issue of counterfeiting. I mean, it's
so retarded,
comically bad.
It's funny, right? They don't send us their best, right? Like it's like really is like. I mean, I'm sure there's smart people working in government, right? But like you can't compare, right? Anybody who. It's the free market, right? You can make 3 times more being a smart person working in the free market, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, because what ends up happening is, especially in a lot of parts of the government that take a lot of technical expertise, the people who are really good are also the people who are very good and ideologically motivated to like do that work. So if you think about the talent pool of people who are like really, really good, you have to down select people who are ideologically motivated and willing to take a massive pay cut, as opposed to, going and working at a contractor and making 3 times as much, or going and working in the just pure play private sector and making 5 times as much.
Well, that's why the commies always lose, right?
Yeah.
Like you look at East Germany, right? Like they try to have semiconductors, right? Like it was, they literally bankrupt Eastern Germany by trying to compete on semiconductors on the early days. And remember, they put those walls to keep the people in.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to work for less doing bad shit. That's why now they try to make it into the free market, right? Like with Palantir and all the chain analysis companies and all the shit, because now you can pay a lot of money for these guys to do bad shit. All right. Moving on to the cream of the crop today after the vulnerabilities there. This guy, Rick, lost 25 BTC because he capped the seed on a password manager. I did talk to him privately. The dude is seems to be like good person, known, and his coins are pre-hardware wallets.
Yeah.
So like there is a bit of a break to be given, and brave guy for sharing a loss like this. Like it's yeah.
So I watched the video that he posted, and I thought he said that his password manager had like a 30-bit password. Does anybody know if that's right? Because I mean that's like a 4 or 5 character password.
Yeah. So if I remember right, like I think it was LastPass years ago.
Yeah.
They got owned because they were using a very small entropy-wise password on their database or something locally. And then I think some of that was being uploaded or something. Then they made everybody upgrade. Maybe this guy didn't upgrade. Maybe that's the story.
Yeah, if I remember right, it's like you would type in your password and it ran it through a really weak KDF.
Something like that.
And then like that's what was used for your database.
Brutal.
Did this guy specifically use LastPass?
We don't know.
I read somewhere on another thread that he was using KeePass.
So self-hosted, but he might have had the files on in the cloud or something, in Google Drive or some shit.
But see, this is the whole point, right? There is no backseas with Bitcoin. It's not a password. Passwords you can change. Like Bitcoin, the money is the password. So
yeah, I mean, like the thing is that like if it's in LastPass and it gets uploaded to the cloud or whatever, or it doesn't, like if it gets compromised and there's only a 30-bit password on it, the it's like that's trivial to brute force.
Minutes, seconds.
Yeah.
Nowadays it's seconds.
And I mean, the reason I bring up LastPass is because there's speculation that there was that their whole database got dropped, got taken. So I wonder if it is connected to that. KeePass is open source and you can self-host it. I mean, it's self-hosted by default. It's just local, but you still have to care about those files. But I mean, I think the lesson here is your setup it's like the turkey chart, right? It's like your setup can be secure, or you can think it's secure until the day it isn't. And then at that point, it's too late, right? The turkey chart is like the life of a turkey, and then it just goes to zero. That's how it is.
Yeah. Like I think this was a great reminder, especially as the bull starts, for people to like get their shit together and like use a hardware wallet. I'm like, I used to beat around the bush and try to like, sort of like be a little bit more like walking on eggshells around saying that, no, it's like use a fucking hardware wallet is better. Like people stop losing money after hardware wallets happen. There's different qualities of them, different securities of them, but do use one. It's better than nothing, and then improve by using a better one. And then do get yourself passphrase so you don't trust just a hardware wallet or a multi-sig. And, like enough, like sort of like beating around the bush of the stuff. Like people just need to be told, like, this is how you lose money, right? And if it's not, like, let's say you have a perfect setup, right? You kept this laptop ultra cold and all this shit. You die. And now your partner goes and plugs it on the internet. And that money gone, right? Like all your inheritance gone. Like, can we stop doing this kind of shit?
Yeah, I mean, my view is a little bit broader. Like, I just think the key issue here was that the security setup just didn't change for a long time, right? And people need to consider that we're in a constant arms race. Constant. It's never going to end. It's going to go on forever. And the attackers who are trying to take your money are always getting better. They're always thinking about new and improved ways. The capabilities that they have are always improving over time. And so your security situation has to improve over time. And you just need to take advantage of whatever the industry is offering at that time. It's part of what you have to do if you're going to hold your own money. You can't just accept that it's sort of one and done. You can sort of get ahead of the curve, so you don't need to really address it for a long period of time. But you'll always have to go back to it at some point and say, right, what kind of situation do I have? Can I improve things? And whether it's physical security, whether it's the devices that you use, whatever it is, there's always ways that you can make things better. And you always have to just be thinking about that. So yeah, that's my kind of view, is that it was just really relying on a security situation that was maybe kind of okay back in the day, but clearly wasn't good enough anymore.
I was going to say, like, there's this thing that predates Bitcoin called Schneier's Law. It's after Bruce Schneier, who's like a really famous cryptographer, wrote my favorite cryptography book.
And he hates Bitcoin, hates it.
Yes, he absolutely hates Bitcoin.
But, a thing that he said, which is really true, is that any person can invent a security system that they themselves cannot figure out how to break.
Yes.
Right? Like, anybody can invent a thing that they think is secure, but that doesn't mean it's secure. Like, how you find out that things are secure is you have lots and lots of people bang on it. So, a lot of times when you see people lose coins like this, it's usually something really homebrew that they came up with that they think is sufficient. And, unless you're really an expert, and a lot of people think that they're experts, you shouldn't go and invent your own system to hold your Bitcoin, because you are way more likely to either, make it too secure from yourself and you and your loved ones can't get into it, or it's really weak and it ends up being stolen from you. So just yeah.
There is this bad narrative out there that, like, people think that, like, just making things read-only, right, stateless, somehow gives you all the security you need for things. It's the same idea with air-gap laptops running Tails, for example, right? Like, this is not a new concept, right? We go back on stateless for like decades, right? The problem is, at some point you have to load secrets and you have to manipulate secrets, right? And then you have to figure out where you store the secret when it's off. And people really seem to overlook these things greatly, right? Like, what stack are you using to handle the secret, to manipulate the secret, right? Like, is it audited? Is it a massive install base? Like, do you know if there's enough eyes on it, right? Like, is there enough eyes who are qualified to have an opinion and find problems in it, right? All software has holes, 100% of it. So, like, have you been able to at least take out all the low-hanging fruit that low-hanging fruit script kiddie hackers out there are going to get into, right?
Yeah.
And then there is, like, removing mistakes that you may make, right? Just because it's stateless, it doesn't mean that you might not make some mistakes. Does the device or the setup make sure that you have good security hygiene, right? And then there is, like, having the actual secret. Is the secret bare? Is the secret encrypted, right? Like, a bare secret invites violence. It's the same as having gold, right? Like, we spent, like, 14 years of Bitcoin improving everything, and then, like, we sort of, like, seem to be, like, sort of, like, going down, like, a bad path for some of the cohort, where, like, people are sort of, like, just not putting enough thought into these considerations. But there's nothing like losing money. There's enough tiers eventually that will sort of, like, clear those things up. So I guess that's a bit of my rant on that. All right. Do we have any more of this? Oh, yes. And then there was the and then there was the coin joining part of this whole hack, right? Where the attacker, due to, like, I guess bad UX or whatever, like, reused an address and like ruined his coin anonymity. And there is a chance now that Rick might be able to get the money stopped on Binance and get it back. Like, you can't make this shit up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the one hand, I'm optimistic and hopeful for Rick. On the other hand, we really have to improve this UX, right?
Brutal, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Odell, I'd love Odell's take on some of these issues around anonymity here, but I think he went to change some diapers. So wait on that. All right, we're going to start at the list. Why don't we start with Mr. Craig, Sparrow 1.8.0?
Okay, it's a long update here. There's a lot that was put into it because it's been a while since we had our last update. So I'll start at the top and work my way down. So one of the first things is I generally tend to lead these notes with a UI change, and we had a UI change in the transaction kind of tab, where previously you had to get a tooltip to be able to view the address that you were signing for, and now it's actually displayed right there in the transaction tab. So it's just easier if you're sitting there with your hardware wallet and you're comparing what's on the screen with what's on the hardware wallet screen, you can see it right there. So that's a nice thing, and you can kind of page through the different addresses that you might be trying to send to, including all the change addresses, the fee, all of that kind of thing. So that's sort of easier to access now. Then we have a larger QR displays, which just kind of helps if you're signing a big multi-sig, you need to get a lot of data across. That's going to help there. We have an ability to search all of the different wallets that you have open, which is quite helpful, particularly for those who are more on the commercial end, working with a lot of wallets, wondering where that address is.
Yes.
And needing to do that search, they can find it.
Thank you.
And one of the other nice little things it puts in is that if you put the address in, it will also search all of the outputs of every transaction in every wallet.
Nice.
So it'll then just pull that up, and then you can see, even if that output isn't going to you. All right, so then we've got some air-gap message signing via QR, which is a very basic protocol that I think the Spectre guys put together.
Is it 322?
No, it's not. Standard, old school. I think Sparrow is the only wallet around. I might be wrong on this, but it's the only wallet that has actually implemented 322. I could be wrong, but I know the core still has it in PR.
I just discovered that the Xverse wallet on mobile does 322 for taproot keys, which is kind of cool.
I think maybe Nunchuck might do it as well. Can't remember. Because I remember when we implemented 322 signing, like there were a few wallets that could do it, but like it's been like, I don't know, probably like a couple of years now.
Yeah, this is the only desktop wallet that I'm aware of. And that's where, I think it's really helpful.
Cool. Well, anyway, this is old school legacy because that's the only implementation that we actually have on the wallet side, the hardware wallet side. So I think Spectre and Seed Signer can handle that now, and I suspect Passport are looking at it. So we'll see if we get more wallets doing that soon. This is a nice little feature. From time to time, somebody would be using Sparrow as an air-gap computer in VK. And they would basically be trying to sign a PSBT where obviously that computer never has any transaction history. So it wouldn't necessarily have knowledge that it actually owns the outputs because the gap limit hasn't been set high enough. So right now, Sparrow will kind of handle that. It'll say, well, I can see from the PSBT, this is actually me. I need to be able to do it. So I'm going to keep on looking through a much higher set of addresses to see whether I can sign, and then go ahead and sign. So it just kind of takes that little up.
Oh, that's really helpful.
Yeah, so like this kind of feature is like super useful when you're in a pinch or trying to help somebody. But like, not to be confused, you should use this as your, like, how you store all your funds in a ThinkPad. Like that's where I think like people sometimes like get confused about features like this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I would completely agree. I think to make a true air-gapped computer is really hard. I'd tried to do it once, and it was a long rabbit hole, and I don't think I did a very good job. So I kind of agree it's not. But look, there are people who might be storing a certain amount of funds on it, and this just kind of means one less query that I have to deal with, which ultimately determines a lot of the things that I build.
Hey, Craig, I have a question for you about that one. So some software, when it's putting together a PSBT, will include a derivation path for the inputs. Like, have you thought about looking to see if the inputs have a derivation path, and if it's outside the gap limit that you've already loaded, you can just like go and derive those addresses specifically?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, you could do a more specific thing like that, but I think ultimately you kind of want the wallet interface to show all of the transaction details, so all of the addresses and all of that. So you kind of want to expand the gap limit anyway, so you kind of want to search through and create all of those addresses. So I think, if you look at the whole thing, it kind of just makes more sense just to match on the global XPubs and then just have a search. And it doesn't actually take too long anyway. It's pretty fast.
Cool.
Okay, so going on, we now have a fee rate selection slider in the private key sweep dialog. So before it would just kind of take whatever fee rate was currently mempool.space would kind of say, well, what is the medium? And now you can choose, which is nice.
Can you put a checkbox that says 1 sat v byte always?
Yes, you can. You can.
That's it. Like I want to just set that as globally. So every time I do a transaction, that's what I send as.
You can. So you basically, if you go to Sparrow preferences, then you can go in there and you can say as your fee rate source.
Perfect.
1 sat per v byte, and then it will only ever give you that. So
you might as well just never broadcast the transaction.
No, and then I call up Wiz. No, I just tell Wiz to push them through.
Well, then you got to pay more than 1 sat per byte.
And you're going to have to run a very large mempool as well, because otherwise your node won't take it. Anywho, moving on, you can now support multiple wallet or transaction files. You can open them at once, which actually is quite helpful for me because I'm often trying to load multiple files. So I don't know why it took me so long to build this in, but there it is. It's quite nice. You can, there's now some more DIY hardware wallet support. NVK, it'd be interesting to hear your views on SATO chip, which I think is interesting. It's sort of very similar to the tap signer in many ways. Kind of provide a card. The one difference is that you actually enter your seed words when you first set the card up. So you actually set them up. You know, there is a downside there that Sparrow gets to see those seed words, that they're not actually, only ever contained or constrained within the card itself. But nevertheless, it is a way to get a very cheap hardware wallet going. So
their contact card, right? You need to buy an adapter.
You need a reader.
Yeah, you need a reader.
It is an NFC card as well, so it does both. And
cool.
And in fact, it actually works with the NFC reader that you sell, NVK. So
great,
cool,
good times. So
no, that's good. Like Java cards are like very secure devices. I mean, they have issues in many different ways, but they're quite secure. So it's nice to see more use of them.
And of course, SATA chip is open source, so that's also a nice feature that people can go and kind of do that. So I can definitely see how the card thing is growing. I think it's important to always say that the big downside to cards is that you can't verify the address that you're trying to sign for. It is a big downside. There isn't any way around that. But at the price point, arguably it's better than anything else. Then we also have Crux. Crux is an interesting kind of DIY thing. It's really a piece of software, but then you can load it onto various hardware devices. In fact, you can even run it on an Android phone, but I would definitely recommend only ever doing that to test with. Don't ever do that to store any real funds. But it was quite nice for me because I could then go and test.
Crux is super cool. These guys seem to like, of the DIY sort of projects, like so far, the one that I find to have the better sort of understanding of security and sort of like be more like, I guess like a better understanding of security is a good way of describe it. Like it's early in this project, but I did recommend that they apply for OpenSats as well and get some grants there. I really like what they're doing. And I like the fact that like, it's sort of like they encourage like better security hygiene and better security practices than some of the other projects. And it also runs on ESP32 as well, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. I must say it seems to be well thought out, and I think that they're really trying to do things the right way. So I was happy to get them in as well. Then a nice feature, if you've ever used Whirlpool and you found that your gap limit has gone up fast because you've had connection issues. One of the issues with the kind of built-in things with Whirlpool is that it doesn't ever want to see your address twice, because then it obviously knows more about you than it should. So it says, no thanks, please give me a new address, which means your gap limit goes up, which can be an issue. Sparrow now basically disconnects you for a short period of time if it sees that gap limit going up, just in the hope that your internet connection will improve. Then it'll try again, and so the kind of process will go on. But that will be helpful for those people who've developed really large gap limits while using it. Next, we can now add a Whirlpool Postmix account to any account. So if you have a hardware wallet, you can now just go ahead and add that, which means you can now mix out to a Postmix account. And then if you later want to take the seed off your hardware device, put it into Sparrow, you can now continue mixing. So it kind of gives you the flexibility of being able to move things on in that way. And that's quite a nice feature for those who kind of want to retain that option for the future. It is just a different derivation part. There's nothing special about a Postmix account. So there's no reason that you can't use it like any other account. We have an additional testnet public server, which is quite nice because we only had one before. So if that one happened to go down for maintenance, it's been pretty good. But if it happened to go down and you were just about to get on stage and do a big presentation, and then all of a sudden your testnet server wasn't there anymore and you ended up looking like a fool, now there's two. So you don't have to worry too much about that anymore.
Did that happen to you?
No, but it was playing in the back of my mind when I added this feature. I can promise you. I was like, I think I'm going to do this one for me. Now, so one of the things that was very much requested was the ability to freeze and unfreeze UTXOs in Sparrow Terminal, which people like because they like to kind of arrange their mix counts depending on what UTXO. They kind of want to get the ones with the low mix counts up fast, so they want to freeze, and that you can now do. You can press F on the UTXO's table and it will then freeze them. You can also see in Sparrow Terminal now if a proxy is configured and working. It just has a little proxy enabled at the top, and that will indicate to you if your proxy goes down for any reason. Then we have a number of other little smaller things which I'm not going to go into too much. Just reading through them now. There's a duplicate payment address warning. Somebody paid someone twice, basically had a send to many and kind of had a whole lot of addresses in there. And one address was duplicated, so they end up paying them twice. Sparrow will now warn you if you do that, which is a nice little feature.
That's a nice one.
Yeah. Beyond that, just a number of little bug fixes and various other things, but that's pretty much it. So that's the big kind of update, the 1.8.0.
When QuickBooks integration, Craig?
One thing that is actually...
I'm only half joking.
Really. The one thing that is actually on my mind is whether I should provide historical fiat rates when you export the CSV.
And Amazon Finance, which is not Amazon, Yahoo Finance, which is
that'd be super fucking helpful.
Yes, it's very Electrum does that, but then they fuck it up or something, and then it goes away. I can't remember.
So one of the constant debates in the Sparrow repo is people asking for more fiat related features. Value this thing in fiat, whatever it is, whether it's a UTXO or transaction or whatever it is. And then you get there people from the other side saying, hey, we're trying to create a Bitcoin standard here. Why do you want fiat all over the place? So I'm always trying to balance these two sides, and I kind of see both points of view. But the CSV, I'm leaning towards. I think that's a useful add.
Nice. Very, very cool, man. Lovely to see so many updates. All right, COLDCARD Edge.
It's just a pain. There's no easy way. I mean, I'm curious if you guys have a easier way, but after the fact, trying to figure out historical Bitcoin prices, just on this date, I want this price. What is the price of Bitcoin? And the best I've found is this website called statmuse.com that mostly cares about sports stats. But if you search that one query, what was the price of Bitcoin on October 29, 2021, it'll give me a fucking number. And I use that as my source of truth.
So Yahoo Finance does this, and they have open, close, and all that stuff. Although for Bitcoin, there's no open and close. It's just high and low.
You just pick the average, whatever.
So I believe the Bitstamp API also lets you give it a date, and it'll give you back a quote.
So just a note on this for people who are doing this for taxes. Okay,
yeah.
It seems that the tax guys, all they want is consistency. So if you're going to use a price source, use always the same price source.
Yeah.
For every transaction that you do. Even if it doesn't quite match whatever is best for you at the time of making transaction, try to keep that consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Because then when they go back, they're going to go back and say, hey, like, you go and you show them, like, this is the source I use. This is all the transactions matching that source and all that stuff. And historical is nice, but really is the spot that you paid at that time, right? So you want to record, like, based on that source, how much you actually, like, paid relative. So just keep that in mind. Consistency is very important.
Yeah, Craig, I don't remember what the BIP number is, but you wrote a standard for doing wallet label like metadata exporting in JSON, I believe. If somebody wanted to do a really kick-ass project that would probably get some funding, but definitely get a lot of contributions, I think if somebody wanted to build something that ingests those JSON files, annotates them with exchange rate data, and then spits out like CSV or QuickBooks or whatever other bookkeeping systems people use, and like make it modular so somebody can come and write like the GNU Cache plugin or some shit. I think that would probably do more for business adoption than the umpteenth Lightning receive widget, right? Like good bookkeeping tooling is actually important for businesses to use this stuff.
And people pay for that. Right, like, so, like, stop developing shiny shit and go develop things that people want to pay for. It's also a hard problem for like devs out there. Like, doing accounting software is surprisingly hard.
Yeah, and I think it carries risk as well. Right now, you're starting to get close to the kind of legal side of things. So for sure, there's wherever there's risk, there's money to be made as well, of course. So definitely, look, I would love to see somebody take this up. I don't really think it's Sparrow's job as a Bitcoin wallet to kind of lead the charge on this. I do think that there's sort of a middleware that would be better at it. So that's my kind of view, is that I will go some distance, but it's never going to be exactly what you want if you want all of the things. And it would be great to see somebody kind of take this on.
And doing it on like that wallet export format is nice, because then, people could plug it into like merchant solutions, right? Like if you had BTC Pay Server spit out paid invoice, in that same format, then you can use the same like accounting import middleware that you build as if you're using Sparrow or something else.
So we developed a internal sort of like macaroni script that takes Electrum history files with the notes.
Amazing.
Okay. And, this is specific to our jurisdiction.
Yep.
It calculates even the capital gains on each transaction versus the US dollar versus the Canadian dollar. And we call it auto counting. and it does the thing, right? But we need to update the script to support Craig's BIP for labels so that we can be independent of Electrum. Right now, like, we have to load that XPub into Electrum to do this because we need that format. But eventually I want to make it so that it works with the labels software. And that's another problem too with accounting software. Right? It's very jurisdiction independent. Like all the shit that you're trying to calculate and do all the adjustment entries. Anyways, accounting is a shitcoin. We only do this level of accounting because we have to pay taxes and the government could audit us. Nobody would do this level of accounting if it was not for taxes. It's definitely crosses the line of depreciating return of investment there.
I just think it's like a surveillance / conditioning thing under the guise of revenue management or monetization.
Yeah, no, it's how they keep the leash on, right? Got to remind the dog that it has a leash on.
Like if we cut all of that shit, I think at net we save money, right? Like,
can you imagine not having tax lawyers and like accountants and bookkeepers doing this shit on a government timeline every year? It's companies. Wow. Like, it's just so, and then they audit you, and then you have to spend all this money on like essentially snapshot accounting, right, of that period. Like, it's such insanity.
So I have a hopium take that, is probably incredibly unrealistic. But, in America, at least, part of the reason why I think we'll never have any kind of real tax reform is because it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. These companies make a shit ton of money. They lobby all the politicians. Now, is there a play here where there's going to be like a 5-10 year period where like AI disrupts all the existing companies.
Yes.
Before the new companies come in and start buying the politicians, that's when we could push for tax reform. Like we might have like this little window.
No, it's going to be bad for everybody. So essentially, like, AI accounting is going to be both like blue team and red team. So like you're going to be able to just feed your general ledger and the thing would figure out, like it already can do that. You could do that a year ago, okay, with the AI that we have. It's just that there is no good interfaces for it. There is no models trained on it. But like it really is like Excel level shit. Like it's not like the AI is just doing a better job. So like you don't need the bookkeeper to figure out too much shit. And you need it to be better trained on the tax code, right? The problem though is all the little sort of like creative things you did with your accounting is going to be completely fucking demolished by the taxman too. The taxman is going to have their AI going over your general ledger and it's going to be shit AI because it's government, right? It's going to be kind of like chain analysis, right? It doesn't work, but they're going to say that he did all the shit wrong and then you're going to have to spend like months fighting them. So it's not going to be pretty for a while. Anyways, moving on. Fuck the taxes conversation. COLDCARD Edge 6.2.1x, which is our Edge release, is for devs. New feature: enroll mini script wallet via USB, because some of those mini scripts are more complicated and people are trying to automate tests and things. So I think that was a Rob request. Temporary seed from COLDCARD encrypted backups. Enhancement: add current temporary seed to seed vault from within the seed vault menu. So we improved some of the UX on that too. And reorg. So we made 12 words. It seems that all the kids now hate 24 words. So like, you know what? Like I'm not going to fight it. It's like, here, 12 words is the default on the top. Have it. Enjoy it. I'm going to keep on using my bunker coin 24 word seed because I want my full entropy to be felt. It's a range problem. And how you describe that to people is impossible. So, what do you do, Rijndael?
It's the same reason why you don't use TikTok. You've got that longer attention span. You can do 24 words.
That's right.
Yeah, it's just kids these days.
That's right.
OGs use 24 words. I mean, it might not be required, but, we don't change.
That's right. I mean, like, and on a pinch, we can just split the secret in half with an angle grinder. And there's still 128 bits on each side. So, like, here's the best part of the range problem. You cannot disprove it either. So, because the math is so big on 256, you can't prove that is necessary, but you cannot disprove that is not either. You're sort of like stuck in no man's land, which is perfect. That's where I want to be. It's so big, you can't prove it either way. we like to think about seeds as an inherent, like something you inherit 100 years from now. All right, so another enhancement here: mainnet testnet separation. Only show wallets for current active chain, and because there really is no differentiation between them, it's just improving UX. And we pulled all the Mark IV stable release features into Edge. So everything that was on the last release for Mark IV is also pulled into Edge. So yeah, that's it for COLDCARD.
Cool.
Yeah. Liana version 3.0 Terceira. Oh, Terceira is third in Portuguese. Look at that. The things we learned. 2 new optional parameters were introduced to list coins command. Updated quick try guide to make use of managed Bitcoin D, and they updated a bunch of GUI specific things.
Yeah, it's nice that it's now easier to use Liana on Signet. I'm a huge fan of wallet software having like a Signet mode switch, especially when you're playing with like new multisig or weird script constructions. Being able to do it on Signet for a while is very valuable. Every wallet should have that feature.
Yeah, Signet is the best shitcoin.
Absolutely.
Electrs 0.10.1.
Oh, there we go. We got a build failure on Raspberry Pi 4 got fixed. So there you go, NVK and Matt. You guys can run Electrs on your RPi 4 now. Better.
Hell yay. Do you know who makes great nodes as a side note? Ketan.
Okay.
You know Ketan, right? I forgot the name of the company, Citadel something.
Ministry of Nodes.
Ministry of Nodes, thank you. He makes great nodes on quality hardware that still cost almost the same as a good Raspberry Pi.
Oh, that's cool.
Refurbished Dells, I think, is what he uses, and
oh, that's awesome.
They last for years. They just keep on going. I think he still has his original one that he made many years ago, and it still chugs along.
I mean, think about it, right? Every bank, every call center in the world, and every other thing that has a lot of like plebes on a terminal, right?
Yep.
Use those little Dell machines.
Oh yeah.
Right? So there's a lot of them in the market use refurbished.
Well, and they have enterprise-wide forced refresh cycles.
Yes.
And that, so like they're getting rid of hardware that's still perfectly good. And the other thing is, when you buy a new computer, maybe 1 out of every 20 off the line or something gets QC'd. When you get refurbed hardware, every single one gets QC'd.
Yep.
So if you're okay with the specs, like refurbished hardware is a really good way to go for stuff that's not, like a signer.
Yeah.
It's not like security critical. You're using this to like source UTXO information for your wallet.
Yeah. I guess people are going to use it for Lightning, but it's a different sort of level of need.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you're still running your node on a Raspberry Pi, you are behind the curve at this point. People have moved on. It doesn't say you have to change it today, but you do need to consider, your hardware is really not great, and you should look at something better.
Let's make Broadcom poor again. That's the dream. All right. Blockstream Green, iOS version 4.0.18. Lightning support LNR withdraw Lightning shortcuts. Nodeyez. See, I know how to say it, sir. I got some shit for it before. Version 23.10. New panel, geyser fun panel, spotlights a randomly selected project name, and a bunch of other things. Padawan Wallet. Testnet only Bitcoin wallet for Android, full of tutorials on how to use Bitcoin wallets. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. We need more of these.
And it's cool. I don't know if you guys have seen this. The UI is like very friendly. It's got these like big colorful buttons, and you like launch it, and there's a screen that explains like how to receive Bitcoin, what a Bitcoin address is. And when you hit receive, it generates like a testnet address and sends you some coins. And you kind of like go through all the normal core operations that you would do on a Bitcoin wallet, but it like comes with educational material, and it's all testnet sats. It's great. Super cool project.
Nice. I like education projects that are hands-on.
Can you believe it's actually built by Thunder Biscuit, who seems to be all over this list?
Well, I mean, Thunder Biscuit is one of those prolific guys, right? Like he ships. He also built BDK.
Yeah, he's one of the core BDK devs. And so, he really understands what needs to happen under the hood for mobile wallets. And so this is just a super cool project.
Very cool. I can just see like, kind of like a classroom or even like remote webinar kind of thing where you have a bunch of like, boomers on the other side, let's do a transaction together, right? Like, and it goes without them have to actually like buy Bitcoin or anything like that. It's super useful. Very, very cool. Also great one to give if you ever get stopped by a bad guy, you can just give them some Padawan testnet coins,
Well, and then when they say, where's your real money? You look at them with a blank stare and say, what do you mean? And they say, this is testnet. And you say, what's testnet? And then you go into like a blind panic and you're like, I paid so much money for this Bitcoin.
That's right. We need some t-shirts that say testnet is the best Bitcoin or something like that.
Wasn't there, first of all, shout out Thunder Biscuit. What a fucking awesome dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was just in Nashville for Nostrville, and he said one of his issues, though, he hasn't solved the sourcing testnet coin problem for new users.
Ben Carmen, he set up MutinyNet, right, which is like a Signet with 30-second blocks. Yeah, it's Signet with 30-second blocks. He also open sourced all of the config and like the Docker files for running MutinyNet. So like I stood up my own Mutiny Net instance. So I get to be Satoshi. Like I have all of the coins. It's great. Something like this might be useful of like, if you're going to be doing testnet coins anyway, maybe like Padawan should have its own signet and he can source like all of the coins himself. That could be an interesting option.
Very.
Yeah, Signet kind of makes a lot of. I wonder what the reason is that he did testnet instead of Signet.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Well, it might be just compatibility everywhere.
Yeah.
It's easier to find wallets to send testnet to than it is to send signet.
But now, like a lot of people are, well, not a lot of people, but like Fedi's been using Mutiny Signet. It feels like Mutiny Signet is turning into
Yeah, but that's all the Lightning. It's the new shiny stuff that uses Signet. Like all the older projects can just switch to testnet without changing anything, right? That's why testnet was so.
Yeah, that's why.
You literally don't change anything.
Yeah. One thing I would add before we move on is I think there was actually a case where a Bitcoiner got robbed and gave him testnet coins.
Yes.
Like recently.
I always bring that example.
It's like within the last couple of months.
Really?
Another one? Because there is an original one. The original story was a guy using Electrum in the UK. Guys with guns came inside the house.
Okay.
And it was non-trivial amount. And he's like, yeah, okay, fine. I'll give you money to you. And he gave them testnets.
That's so good. Balls of steel, man.
Balls of steel, man.
NVK, maybe that should be the new like duress pin feature on the cold card is like punch in a particular pin and it just launches in testnet mode.
Right.
That could be kind of cool.
That would be pretty funny, actually. But the problem is the wallet, right? Like not the signer, but the wallet.
Yeah, your software has to do it.
Yeah, you would have to know. We did think about making faulty transactions that broadcast but don't get mined.
What about a duress pin that only signs 1 sat per byte, so it won't confirm, and then you could just RBF it later?
That is hilarious.
That's really funny.
There you go. But yeah, no, the one with a faulty transaction that just keeps on like giving errors was definitely part of the thinking process. We just never got around to that one. But
it would be tricky because like your software would probably throw an error immediately because like whatever node you connect to would reject it.
But that's okay though. Then it's like, look,
okay,
I'm signing.
Yeah. Right.
Like, this is the key, right? It's always just like, look, I'm doing what you're telling me to do.
Yeah.
And it doesn't fucking go anywhere, right?
I push the button, you push the button. Like, see what happens. Yeah.
Man, like, it's like there's nothing I can do. Like, that's the kind of thinking, like, that's exactly how we think.
Yeah, perhaps we need like a mode in Sparrow where it's all fake. You press the broadcast button and it just looks like it's real, but it's not actually doing anything.
Can you imagine if we put an identifier on this shit transaction that Sparrow does recognize, and then it pretends to accept the transaction and pretends to broadcast the transaction?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very easy, actually.
Interesting idea.
We can add a specific output.
Mm-hmm.
But like actually even better is deterministic. So like we don't have to even repeat.
Yeah, just like throw an operator in there that says, help, I'm stuck in a Bitcoin factory.
That's right. 911 on the off return. That'd be great.
Yeah.
All right. Man, I love these conversations. These are
Wait, you guys should actually do that shit.
Yes. We're gonna do so many things that the bad guys would be so confused that like there is no winning scenario. Like you beat the person just does one more different thing that just breaks something else. Anyways, all right. Project Spotlight. I think we're on the first 10% of the list. It's been an hour and 15.
No shit, 15% of the way through this list.
Yes. All right. So Bitescrow. Website, GitHub, a core library for implementing the escrow protocol. Interesting. I haven't played this. Don't know much about it.
Yeah, their website is just like a waiting list sign up, but their GitHub has really long docs. I took a skim through it. I haven't read it in detail, but it's interesting because usually when people do escrow services with Bitcoin, it's like a 203 multisig, right? And so like if the buyer and seller agree, then the money gets released. If not, then the aggrieved party and the third party can like collaborate and co-sign. what they seem to be doing for this is instead the person who's putting up the money and the escrow agent do a 2 of 2 musig, and then they pre-sign transactions for like all the different outcomes of the escrow agreement. So it's almost like a DLC that way. Like you pre-sign, the refund path, you pre-sign like the contract is completed, you pre-sign something else. So it like pre-signs all the outcomes of the contract, and then you like broadcast it later. I don't know. Interesting idea.
Very cool. All right, bitdev.org, a Bitcoin Lightning development resource by Vortex. Cool. Bitcoin-scriptexec for execution.
Yeah, this is cool. This is like a Rust library that you can use to execute a Bitcoin script. So like you write some opcodes and you can give it, a witness, and it'll run it and tell you if it's like valid or not. And he wrote the WASM configuration for it. So if you want to like compile this into a web app, maybe you want to use it for like script debugging, or maybe you're doing something where you need to like test scripts before you execute them in a browser. Kind of cool.
Very cool. Rijndael, is there a project like you haven't tried or read about? Like, is this what you do for a living?
A little bit.
Love it. Put on the spot here. I wonder the day that it comes out where Rijndael does for a living is going to be funny.
I write a lot of software that has to do Bitcoin stuff programmatically. And so, tools that make it easier to do Bitcoin stuff programmatically, I'm all over. Like, I don't have time for this shit.
I mean, what most people maybe don't know who don't write code is that like most solutions written by software is because most engineers are lazy as fuck.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, it's like everything gets automated because an engineer didn't want to do something.
Yeah, the three best qualities in a software engineer are laziness, hubris, and impatience, right? And so, yeah, that's how everything gets written.
All right, so Ciro 39 by Fitch42, a word puzzle game where you have 5 attempts to guess the chosen BIP39 seed words.
Oh my god! I just opened this. It's a Wordle clone, like the like New York Times game. It's that, but it's BIP 32 words.
That's hilarious.
Or BIP 39 words. That's hilarious. Yeah, that's great.
Opcode Explained by Thunder Biscuit, again, a small encyclopedia of opcodes. Yeah, he was talking about it. I heard it on the Other List podcast by some guy Odell and some guy Marty, and very cool. Like he does some analysis and sort of like explanations of the opcode so he could understand it himself.
Yeah, I forgot we had him on the pod this week.
That's right. Cubit from Nabi Technology, a powerful and reliable x86 microserver that makes running your own node hassle-free. Look at that.
Yeah, so I mean the hardware in this looks really good, actually. This is the kind of thing that you want to be using for your node as when you upgrade from your Raspberry Pi, which is obviously something you're going to be now doing this coming weekend. So this is a really nice platform. The Celeron, the M5 105, which they have here, very decent, relatively new, nice bit of RAM on it. Yeah, I think there's lots to like here.
I mean, Celeron is the lower, cheaper end of Intel, which is quite fast.
Yeah, it's more than enough.
You can do fanless, right? Isn't there fanless Celerons?
The one
or is it a different line?
The one you mean without fans?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the one I have does have a fan, but you can't actually hear it. I mean, obviously you prefer it without.
Oh, no, it's just for moving parts.
Yeah.
There is, if you go on Logic Supply, I believe, that has all the industrial shit, all industrial computing stuff. It doesn't necessarily mean it's expensive, but they have, Intel has a few lines of fanless computers so that you can put them in like little aluminum cases and strap them to, locomotives and whatever the fuck you want to put them. What's nice is that like those are designed to like, not be turned off ever and designed for low maintenance. Highly recommend people checking those out. They're really, really good. And again, not necessarily very expensive.
the one really nice thing about these chips is that they're low power chips.
Yes.
And it's not really that I mind so much about using power to power my node. It's more that I live in a country where we have lots of power cuts, scheduled power cuts. So I need to get everything onto these little micro or sort of mini UPSs. And as a result, it's super important for me to keep the power usage low. So these kind of small little packaged nodes really make a lot of sense. This is why I don't personally run a refurbished Dell. This kind of thing makes more sense for me. So if you have similar constraints, this is a good option.
The dream that probably happened in a parallel universe is there is 110 delivered, so really 220 delivered to the house. And then the house down converts that to 12 volts. And then the whole house runs on higher amp 12 volts so that you don't have to down convert all your electronics like from 110 all the way down to 5 volts, just 12 volts to 5 volts. But, it's parallel universe.
Yeah.
That would have been fantastic. Cars, boats, everything runs on 12 volts.
Yeah.
And the batteries on your UPSs have to be up converted to 110. It's pretty annoying, actually. It's a lot of wasted energy. BitChimney space heater. Oh, that's cool. I love all the space heater projects using S19s. I'm seriously considering adding a couple to my house this winter. Make some sats while I have to hit the house anyways. Lightning plus L2, part of the show. Software and project updates. Blixt version 0.6.9. Simple Trap Root channel support. Yay. And a few other things. I'm not going to read the nitty gritty of all these projects. Zeus version 0.8.0 beta 3 and 2. New branding, Korean language, embedded LED node, a bunch of other stuff. Phoenix 2.0.7 and 2.0.6. They improved the other button to scan stuff. Mutiny Node version 0.4.28 and 0.4.29. Onion message routing, eventually for both 12, and a few other things. Very nice. Blink API, integrate Bitcoin Lightning payments into projects, allow for on-chain and layer 2 Lightning payments, Bitcoin or USD. Rijndael, I saw you shaking your head there positively. Do you want to comment?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. So there's the Blink API here and then Breeze SDK. I think it's interesting to see multiple Lightning wallets moving in the direction of offering either an API or an SDK plus an LSP as a way of, monetizing and funding all the wallet infrastructure they built, right? Lightning on mobile or on just end user devices takes a shitload of moving parts, and having, software wallet business is kind of a hard business to be in anyway. So I don't know. I think it's interesting to see Lightning wallets starting to turn into service providers, and I'm curious to see how that's going to go over the next couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to Lightning incentives are towards hub and spoke. So middlemans as a service.
Yep.
The complexity and everything else is sort of where it goes. It's progressive as designed.
Yeah, I mean, and on the Breeze SDK one, they now this latest release, they have a Python package. I was looking at their docs earlier today, and they now have SDKs in 4 or 5 different languages, and they're trying to make it really turnkey. The Lightning node bits are all handled in Greenlight, Blockstream's node as a service, and so they're really trying to make it you write 5 lines of code and now you can send or receive Lightning payments, but you still have the key in your app, right? So they're basically trying to be like Stripe for Lightning. And I think, if you're web developer or somebody who can do a little bit of web development, it's really, really easy to get started on Nostr. And it's becoming progressively easier with things like Breeze SDK or the Blink API to get started with sending or receiving Lightning payments. So I think we're going to get a point pretty soon where, 10 lines of code and you can connect to Nostr and you can start sending or receiving Bitcoin over Lightning while still being non-custodial. You are outsourcing a lot of the Lightning bits, and there might be some like privacy concerns there, but we're getting pretty close to it being turnkey for some people, with some trade-offs.
Yep. I mean, I keep on harping on this. Like, I really want the one button solution without KYC so that I can receive Lightning payments. It could be something that like prevents you from crossing some threshold, right? Like you can't have more than, I don't know, $500 worth on it.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I want to just be able to like click a button so that I can have like a website that charges money, right? Like maybe it's a meme site or something. And I feel like even if it's very little money so that it doesn't sort of bump into KYC problems, like it will be like that. That's like super useful, right? Like you put it on a website, like 2 seconds, you can receive money. Because the send money we've resolved. Everybody can send money.
Yeah.
It's the receive money that's the hard part when you're building little projects.
Yeah, I mean, like the first thing I built on Lightning was I had some domains that I was squatting on, and I thought it would be cool to rent out subdomains over Lightning. So the idea was like, you want to get a subdomain in this cool domain that I have, you would hit an API endpoint, and I would send you a Lightning invoice, and I charge 2 sats per hour, and you would pay for as much time as you wanted that subdomain to resolve to your IP address. And then when the meter was empty, I would just nuke the subdomain out of my DNS. And it's like the perfect little internet business. Like there's no logins, there's no signups. I don't have to set up a credit card. Like I'm charging 2 sats per hour.
Yes.
But I had to run a Lightning node and go and like provision inbound liquidity in order to be able to take people's like 2 sats an hour. And it would be really, really great if I could just, make an API call and get sats, but still have it be like non-custodial and not have to worry about, OpenNode or somebody like rugging me or taking KYC.
I just bumped into this problem like this week. Like I have this new little website that like, offers one button AI chat.
Yep.
Right. The unleashed.chat. And like I want to receive sats per hour to pay for video cards. Right. And like I don't want to go and like develop a whole Lightning infrastructure, a whole Bitcoin infrastructure to receive payments. Like it's like I want to focus on this. Like, on CoinKite, we had to develop a shopping cart. It was early days, right? So we had to do all the things. But like, I want to focus on the domain expertise, right? I don't want to become like an expert in like shopping cart again. For just this project.
Yeah, the AWS-ism for this is undifferentiated heavy lifting. Like that entire business is built on figuring out what's the 85% like undifferentiated heavy lifting that everybody has to do and making it an API call. And there's a real opportunity in Lightning to say, yeah, you want to focus on building cool AI chatbots. You don't want to be an expert in route, pathfinding and liquidity provisioning.
Yes. That's we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yep.
Even if I have to just put a one address system again on it. Chain only.
Well, the hard part is getting there without KYC.
Yeah.
Again, right? Like it's like the low amounts is where, but see, for example, nobody so far has created a little system where I put in Bitcoin. I don't mind providing liquidity, right? Like I'll put in some coin,
and then they open a channel to you with your coin.
And the system does all the magic to fucking figure out how to provide the liquidity, right? Like, but I'm giving you the BTC, like into my own self-hosted solution software that I also pay for a license. I don't have a problem with that. Like businesses don't care about paying fees. It's okay. Just make it cheaper than a credit card, of course.
Yeah.
That's the least I ask. But anyways, it's that's the challenges people are working on. All right, Torque version 1.4.1, but BitBanana version 0.6.8, 10.10.1 version 1.5.0, Minibits 0.1.3 -tor-beta.6, Rust Lightning 0.0.118. Is this a Rust thing?
I don't know.
To go that far on the...
Just 0.1, please. But I mean, the exciting thing about this release is they finally have Bolt 12 support, which is really exciting.
Cool. So Bolt 12 is happening.
It looks like it. There's now 2 implementations out there.
Well, that's what you need.
Mm-hmm.
Wallaby, I never know how to say it.
Walby.
Wallaby. Version 0.10.4 on iOS now. Alby plus Zaprite. You can now your Alby wallet to Zaprite start accepting Bitcoin. Okay, so you can essentially use Alby as the wallet, as the node wallet Lightning on Zaprite.
Yeah, that's cool.
Project Spotlight on Lightning L2. LN's eSIM. Oh yeah, I saw this one. That's cool. So you can buy eSIMs with Lightning. Cipherchat.app. Encrypted messaging over Bitcoin Lightning network.
Yeah, there used to be a project called Sphinx Chat. Yeah, and it kind of fizzled out. It'll be interesting to see if CipherChat goes the same direction. I think they probably will, but I wonder if they do something different.
Yeah. That should experiment, right?
Yeah, why not?
Lifpay Bitcoin Lightning wallet. Don't know much about it. Getbit.money. Send money from US to India instantly with magic of Lightning Network. Cool. Plasma from Fontaine. Oh, Fontaine is launching another project. Fontaine maintains, what's the name of the iOS wallet?
Fully noted.
Fully Noded.
Fully noted, yeah.
So core Lightning wallet powered by LN socket. Cool.
Oh, that makes sense then. Yeah, there used to be core Lightning support in Fully Noted, but it was kind of hard to use. And I read something where, yeah, he's using LN socket, which is a project from JB55 to do to control your core Lightning node. And so I guess he's pulling the Lightning support into a separate app and having Fully Noted just be L1, which is great.
Nice. Rust-nostr version 0.25.0. Nice to see more Nostr libraries. We need it in all the languages.
Mm-hmm.
Really, SDKs are the way to go, so people don't have to reinvent the wheel. Damus is on 1.6-25. Primo 0.90.3 on iOS and Android 0.20.4. Lots of updates. The iOS I can speak of because I use. It's nice overhaul. It's been happening. Amethyst version 0.80.7. Vitor is always pushing the envelope. Nos.social. Lots of updates. Highlighter 2.0. That's Pablo's insane brain app thing. It's pretty cool. Mostro version 0.89. Current iOS version 0.1.4- Palo Verde is a chat with Plebe AI. Okay. Over Nostr, I guess. 0x chat added support for the 42. Loom version 2.00 and 0201. Project Spotlight, Nostr Assets, Lightning Fi on Nostr. No idea what that is. Is that finance or?
Yeah, it's it's high fidelity audio. Taproot Assets is colored coin protocol over,
right,
in theory over it's Lightning Labs colored coin protocol. It's gonna work over Lightning, and so somebody's hooking that up to Nostr to, I guess, let you do stuff with these things over Nostr. I feel like Taproot Assets isn't really going to take off until they announce the stablecoin issuer who works on it.
Yeah, even then,
probably not.
Yeah, I always say that the shitcoiners, first of all, the shitcoiners want the Lindy of Ethereum, right? There is a Lindy for shitcoining on Ethereum. They want all the infrastructure of scamming that Ethereum has, soft and hard. They want the marketing, and they want to stay away as possible from Bitcoiners too, calling them out. So the only use case that's not true full shitcoining scamming is stablecoins. But then stablecoins has this massive Lindy of implementation also on Ethereum. It used to be a Omni coin, which is Bitcoin.
No, not even Ethereum anymore. Tron is king.
It's all Tron now.
Stablecoins.
Really?
Yeah, Tether is already centralized. You're already trusting Tether. So they're going to use the cheapest, most centralized chain possible. And in that case, it's Tron right now. So the overwhelming majority of volume is for Tether is on Tron.
Do you know what's funny? Because that makes my meme from years ago true. I took a selfie with Justin Moon and Adam Back, and we said we're going to take over Ethereum as a joke. It happened, I guess. That's really funny. Oh, that world.
But that's why, like, unless Tether explodes or like gets hit by a cruise missile or rugs people, the meme is going to continue to be the midwit meme, which is like, you know, on in the middle, it's like, oh, DLCs, stable sats, tap ass, like all these different crazy Tether on liquid, like all these different mechanisms to try and get a dollar balance. And then the left and right of the meme is just Tether on Tron.
Tether on Tron. Yeah.
Right. Yes, totally. I mean, you know, it does work, right? I mean, that's all they need.
Imagine dealing with inbound liquidity to receive your Tether on Lightning when you could just open up, you know, just do Tether on Tron.
So 2 centralized Lightning providers right now, I want to send 3 million sats from one wallet to another. And like, I've tried all the settings. I've tried like troubleshooting with the project maintainers and still can't send it. So, so it's going to be tricky. You know, again, Lightning for Zap's great. There is no liquidity maintenance when you're sending, 3 sats.
Mm-hmm.
But like people sending $500 worth of Tether, it's going to get tricky. Oh, but it's colored coins, right? So it could be just 1 sat on Lightning. So that's doable.
Yeah, I guess it does not need liquidity for the Lightning side.
Yes.
It does, but like the way that it works and like the difference between Taproot assets and RGB, right, is with Taproot assets in theory, right? Basically, you have a swap at the 2 endpoints. So like if I want to send Tether and Odell wants to receive Tether, then what ends up happening is like my wallet swaps Tether for uncolored sats with my channel peer. And then it goes as like a normal Bitcoin payment across the network. And then when it gets to Matt's peer, it swaps back to Tether. So you need liquidity at both ends, but you don't need the colored coin liquidity across like the backbone of the network.
You need the sats liquidity.
You need the sats liquidity. And I think, what's probably actually going to happen in practice, right, is it's going to be a hub and spoke model. And so everybody who's using like Tether will connect to like the Tether LSP and they'll have plenty of liquidity and you'll just be bouncing to this like centralized provider.
Can I be the person who says that like all Tether needs to do is just use Cashew? Like they can have their own single signer. Like they don't even need federated eCash, right? Because there's nothing federated about Tether.
It would actually probably be better if you didn't.
It would be amazing, right? Single signer mint where like Tether is just minting eCash tokens, right? Like there is no blockchain BS, like nothing. It's just like, here is your token.
But that's the point, right? Like the reason Tether's existed for this long is because they can point to the blockchain BS. So they can point to being like, look, it's on the quote unquote decentralized ledger of Tron.
Well, you can put Cashew. Cashew uses Lightning.
No, if they are the single custodian, they already are. But if they just admit that they're the single custodian for all of this and you have perfect privacy guarantees, the cruise missile comes way sooner.
Well, they can say that their Cashew key. No, they can say that Cashew key is a frost of 2 of 3 between Matt
and Justin Sun holds a key.
Justin Sun and Paolo. There you go. See? Solving problems on air. All right. Fluxter. Submitted by Zach, who listens to the show. Hi, Zach, who listens to the show. Uses the NIP52 kinds to create a meetup.com Eventbrite style experience. Oh, nice.
Oh, cool.
2 companies that need to die. Like, it's meetup.com and Eventbrite. It's time. Just die an honorable death. This is very cool. Nostr does resolve this problem.
Yeah, it's a really cool project. He presented it at Nostrville last week.
Very nice.
And it's pretty too. Like it actually looks nice.
Oh, that's nice. Nos.social? Nostr, Twitter clone built on Nostr. Nostr feature matrix, compendium of Nostr clients and non-features. Oh, that's nice.
Oh, this is great. Yeah. So somebody was listening to whatever episode that was where you said people just need feature matrices with X's and checkboxes. This is literally a big table of X's and checkboxes comparing things. This is great. I'm going to use the shit out of old Iris because it has the most green.
That's right.
I don't even know what these mean, but it has the most green. So that's what I'm going to use.
That's how you choose anything.
Yeah.
And then I love that like every vendor of anything on their site, they pick out the features that they have all the green. And then you go to the competitor website and then they have all the green. It's always the best. Nostr web client.
Okay.
All right. StartOS version 0.3.5 moved from source available to fully open source. They've taken the leap again now that they have a bit of a time advantage.
I would really love for them to just move off of, like, I know that they got rid of Docker and replaced it with Podman. I would love for them to just get off containers, or I've poked them a couple of times about moving to like Firecracker or something else that's like more secure. Like, I don't know, Bitcoin stuff running next to each other in containers makes me nervous, but that's okay.
I think their whole architecture is predicated on that, right?
Yeah, I think they're looking at it.
Yeah, they're using now Podman instead of Docker. Is that any better? I don't know much about Podman.
It's still, so the problem is that it's still the same kernel. So if you have like a container breakout, then you can still jump across the container boundary into another container. There's like a couple of projects. Google has a thing called gvisor. Amazon has a thing called Firecracker. Either of them would be good. And I think StartOS is running on more powerful hardware than like Raspberry Pis these days. So they could run a beefier hypervisor that would give them like hardware level isolation between these things.
Cool.
That would be great to see.
Unleash.chat. That's my project. We have a freedom AI solution here. One button private AI deploy chat. We deploy open source models.
Okay.
In real quality video cards. So it's like 70 billion model, 8K, like on infrastructure that like only you can see the stuff.
Okay.
And we're going to charge per minute kind of thing in SATs.
So are you guys actually doing like single tenant deployments of everything? So like I hit a button and there's like an EC2 instance that's provisioned to me?
It's more complicated than that.
Okay.
No, it's more complicated than that because like you don't want to pay for 24 hours for a card, right?
No.
Exactly. So we're finding sort of like a middle ground where like the information is private.
Okay.
It lives on your browser.
Mm-hmm.
The computation is done remote and we're trying to make it so that we can't see it.
Okay.
And you can upload, there's going to be a way for you if you don't mind waiting a minute for a video card to be provisioned to you.
Yeah.
For extra privacy.
Yeah.
Then it's fine. Because like the goal is you can upload, 20, 100 megabytes of text data for context without having to like train the model.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is all SATs based.
Something I think would be really cool. I don't know if it's the right thing for your project, but I'd love to see somebody do it is take like a spot market approach where I say, I've got all this data and here's some prompts that I want to do. I don't really care when it gets done, as long as it gets done the next like day. And here's what I'm willing to pay.
Oh, no, we're not that. It's not expensive enough to care. Like this is cheap.
Okay.
This is really cheap. Like I don't have like pricing that I can put out yet, but like it's really cheap and it's really fast. It's like the best video cards you could possibly get.
Mm-hmm.
And like I just hope to get better. I'm trying to get the 180 billion model working on this. So like it's close.
Cool.
Yeah. It's and then pay SATs, right? Like uncensored and SATs and no like there's no information of no KYC, no nothing. It's just your instance of a model. You ask your questions, you close, you save the information if you want. If you don't, it just disappears. It was born because like I was on ChatGPT and like there's many things I don't want to share with that evil company. And I want to do also analysis on UTXOs and things. And I don't want them to even learn about those things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When is the release?
It's already out. It's just not like available to everyone to create an account. I'll send you guys usernames and passwords.
Cool.
Excellent.
It's still free because like the charging of the Sats is not quite ready.
Right.
Should be ready by the end of the week. Then he can give us that. But Matt has tried. It's fun to ask uncensored questions to bigger models.
Yeah, MVK hasn't charged me yet because he's still never run a Lightning node. So he's trying to figure out how to accept payments.
That's right.
No, I like it. What's cool about it is just it's simple. It's a trade-off balance, right? It's like I feel like we don't have enough of the tools that are in between, like completely like self-hosted sovereign versus 100% owned and surveilled and controlled. Like,
Yeah.
I just want most of my life. I want like the middle ground where it can be convenient, and I'm not like at a massive disadvantage to everyone who's like using Siri or whatever, ChatGPT and all the other shit.
Yeah, I mean, like that's the thing, right? Like the middle ground, we can do it. Like the middle ground is where like you can actually offer as a service kind of thing, right? Like the full tinfoil is impossible as a service. You have to have your own hardware.
And like the other cool part is you solve so many problems by just accepting Bitcoin as payment.
Yes, that's the thing, right?
Like give me like it doesn't have to be the most flashy service. You don't even have to have that much of a differentiator compared to other things. But if I don't have to put my billing address and credit card information, all that shit in, and I can just scan an invoice, like it's a complete game changer in terms of convenience, but also privacy.
The power of Bitcoin, right? Like this is an actual real world problem that I need to resolve. Like I need to be able to charge money.
Mm-hmm.
Did you like my searches, MVK?
I can't see them.
I made sure that they're all flattering.
No, you don't understand. Like it's designed so like it's the whole business model is that I can't see it. I didn't see it.
I know it's the claim, but also
that's the jail-free card.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All I know is you specifically sent me username and passwords, and you told me, "Don't worry, I can't see what you're searching."
Well, that's true, but soon you're going to be able to just go there yourself and create your own username, right? Like, and then, yeah, but it's all the data lives local except for the computation, right? So the model is on the video card, right? And then your browser essentially talks to that, and then it returns to you. Like, ideally, eventually we can maybe put some keys there, and then once it's not, like, if we did tenant it out, then like. Then it's like really just you. The key again, right? Like there's that middle ground where things can be affordable, fast, and good enough. As soon as you go one step further into that, it's like expensive, slow, and like not practical. But the goals, what I love is that the incentive is aligned, right? The incentive of us making sure that like provably we can't see the data is how this idea stays as an idea. And not like sort of becomes a 404.
Yeah.
I think the first question I asked it was, which is the best Bitcoin hardware wallet? And it said Ledger. And then I immediately sent it to MVK.
All right. Boosts. Thanks everyone who streamed the sats, man. So HGW39. Yo, NVK, just so you know, there is some resistance to all the totalitarian shit going on in New Zealand. I wrote this specially for you. There is the Bitcoin scene in New Zealand 2023. There's a link on the notes. I will take a peek, sir. Ape, Meef Rendier, value for value. Vic, Bitcoin is boring and nothing is happening. Mr. Proof of fist. Sounds like a must listen. Do Bravco. Face-to-face proof of fist. People really like that one.
Mm-hmm.
Heidi Sov. Fuck sleep meds. My husband told me I should just listen to a soothing podcast to deal with my recent bout of insomnia. I told him I have just one. Sovereign individual. Good. All right. How are we doing time, guys? So first of all, I just wanted to mention because we're in Bitcoin Optech territory here, which you normally would just tell people to go to Bitcoin Optech. There was a post on the list, the Bitcoin dev list, talking about the future of the Bitcoin dev list. I think that thing should stay as painful as it is. I don't think it should go anywhere. Like, how do you guys feel about that?
Well, the problem is that like it has to go somewhere because the Linux Foundation is going to stop hosting the mail server. So I think like people are down to run on another instance of Mailman or something. I think the question is just sort of like, where's it going to be? Who's going to pay for it? You know, if somebody's paying, I don't know. I kind of feel like
It should go on Nostr, man. Problem resolved.
yeah. I mean, yeah, and then maybe people are incentivized to archive it and like serve that up or something.
Because like on Nostr, seriously, like there is no owners to the data.
Yeah.
The threading works great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can have a client that's just dedicated to Bitcoin shit. So like, you know, it shows the stuff in the way that we all want to see.
Well, that was suggested, I believe, and then
Yeah, but
a lot of people started shitting on it.
yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a strong argument to keep it on email. Just keep the barrier to entry as low as you possibly can. I mean, email is pretty much the lowest.
But the barrier of entry to send an email to the Bitcoin dev list is ginormous. Like, realistically speaking, very few people are going to get their email like be relayed in there without being somebody that has something like meaningful to say that I'm pretty sure would be able to be capable of running Nostr. I guess the reading of it, but then it could be just an app, right? I mean, or like a website that shows like the reading of the Nostr notes is pretty easy. I don't know.
There could be a website that shows it publicly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There could be many.
Well, and you know, it could be a statically written, like it can be a static client side only thing, right? That just like connects to a bunch of Nostr relays and pulls down all the messages.
Well, I mean, it can also do, and you can also create an email relay, right? So people can send an email to this server that then relays on that server key as a Nostr node to the mailing list with the emails and metadata, and that's it. Like, it's not hard. I don't know.
There is something about the email mailing list. It's just such a classic of every open source project. And,
yes,
you know, I guess what I'm saying is there's sort of a cultural norm around it. And almost like if you try and make anything else, someone's probably just going to go and make that anyway.
Yeah.
Because it has such a cultural kind of significance to it.
I think the problem is unless we find a comparable, not Bitcoin related, open source, like foundation of sorts that already does other projects.
Yeah.
The infighting would be so big that it would not go anywhere. Like, essentially, it needs to be another sort of a GNU foundation of sorts that has a mailing list already for other Linux projects, right? That takes on the Bitcoin dev mailing list. And anything else but that would be just a shit show, in my opinion. But, you know, Nostr could fix that for free. No hosting costs. And everybody can, like, and the cool thing, too, is that it ends all the drama that we have with the blocking and the censorship, the mailing list, all that shit. You just get that raw shit and you just censor whoever you want to censor, right? Maybe that's why people are afraid. That's why people don't like Nostr. It's like they're too afraid of having the haters not being blocked.
Yep. Too bad they can't avoid it.
Yeah, it's going to happen, man. You're going to have to learn how to live with mute. Mute is great. You don't see it. Everybody else around see it. Yeah, that's a hats up to Shishi, who's on every single post that I make hating on me.
You could even like there could be particular like core maintainers or stuff that we could subscribe to their mute list on an opt-in basis if you wanted to clean up the conversation. Like, there's so many different interesting possibilities there.
Yeah, you can have many.
Yeah.
And you can share your mute list, right? Like, you could say, you know, here's like I want to listen to you know, core contributors plus these other people that I follow and everything else I want to filter. Like, you could do that.
Can you imagine the DVMs for topics and things? Man, you can start like stitching together like different threads that are of the same topics too. That'd be great. Yeah. Maybe the lower barrier of entry is also scares people too, because like, you know, there's going to be a lot more volume.
Yeah.
Like a lot more volume. Yeah, I mean, it changes from cathedral to bazaar, and I don't think people are ready for that. All right. So any topics here from the Optech that we need to talk about? You guys are interested in mentioning before we kill this cat?
No, I mean, like, I think people should probably read the whole replacement cycling thing. That got like a lot of attention and discussion. I think it's way too much to get into right now, but that was talked about in Optech a little bit.
Cool. All right. So, oh Jesus Christ! There's also the news. We're like, I don't know, man. I am like now like just my brain is still on jet lag. I don't know if I can do another half an hour of this. No, right?
NVK just you're gonna get put to sleep by your own.
Yeah, no, it's literally happening right now.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll just do a glance here. So yeah, so if you guys want to know about Bitcoin news and noteworthy stuff, go check out the show notes. Bitcoin Bull launched a wallet. The Federal Reserve is a bunch of retards that don't know how to trademark things. What else? Lightning Spark wants to be Visa of Lightning. Pissed off people. Strike launched a bunch of other cool shit. There's so many news, so many things. Funding on OpenSats. Matt Morehouse and Furzy got long-term funding there. In mining, there's a bunch of stuff happening too. Block completes their first prototype of the MDK hashboards. Business and finance, bunch of articles too. Privacy, Swanu no longer service clients to directly interactive mixing services. Major drama.
A lot of drama.
This comes from the banking partners.
Yep.
There has been an incentive. Recent incident, Sweden. So Sweden people are getting robbed by gunpoint. So be careful there, Swede people.
Yeah, Eric spoke about that because you could just type their name in and get their own address.
Yeah, in Italy, for example, I think tax returns are public.
Jesus.
Like it's real communism. Privacy is freedom, right? Like no privacy is communism.
Yeah.
Nobody should have the right to see your shit, period. It's insane. I think the Italian public tax returns happened when they were trying to take the mobsters. The same with a lot of the income shit in America with Al Capone, right? They caught him on taxes, not on crimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's like classic bullshit, right? Because
yes,
the mobsters in Italy aren't going to pay the taxes. So it just affects all the fucking honest people.
Tax stuff is fascinating in the sense that it's a guilty till proven innocent. Is the only part of government interaction in jurisprudence that's the opposite. You have to prove that you didn't commit tax fraud. It's insane because of course they can't prove shit, right? So yeah, FinCEN proposing whatever. Moving on.
Read the show notes.
Yeah, there's a lot of good show notes here. Jody does a lot of work putting this together. So go read it. And we're going to send it. No, we send it now on Substack. If you're a boomer that wants to receive this in your inbox, just subscribe it.
Perfect.
I forgot. We send it over to you. You don't even have to move your ass now.
The whole mailing list conversation, he has you to subscribe to his mailing list at the end.
That's right. Everything is a circle back to email. And then there's a bunch of cool articles for you to read too, from River, Lightning Report, and a bunch of other cool stuff. Listen, guys, I thank you immensely for putting in 2 hours of your time, putting people to sleep. It's a job. It's a dirty job, but somebody has to do it.
Somebody has to do it.
Right? I mean, somebody has to go through this list because the other pod doesn't go through the full list. They are more commercial. They have to fit in a single hour.
That's why Odell has to do it twice.
That's right. It's just punishment. He has to do it twice.
You fucked up the first one, so now you're here.
That's right. So, final thoughts, Craig.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking, this list seems to get longer every time I'm here, and in partly that's probably because Johnny's just getting better and better at putting it together, but partly because there's probably just more and more going on, and at some point, maybe we can actually measure it, but at some point it's just going to get so long, so many things going on that no one can possibly keep track of it all, discuss it all, and we'll have to be much more selective about what we choose. But it really is amazing. I mean, it's just this wall of text that you face here. And that's my thought, is just like, wow. If you want to stay on top of Bitcoin these days, you better not be doing anything else with your life, because it's going to take you that much time.
Yeah, man. It's, again, nothing's happening in Bitcoin, right? It just happens to be the new financial world, and it's going to happen completely unnoticed. Mr. Odell, final thoughts.
Appreciate you all. Stay humble, stack sats.
Rijndael, any final thoughts, sir?
No. Download Sparrow. The new release is a banger.
Awesome. Hey guys, thank you so much again. I got nothing to. Thank you. This was great. Really appreciate it. I feel for Johnny that's going to have to edit 2 hours, but we did good. We didn't interrupt each other a lot, so that helps.
Yeah, it worked out pretty good.
Thank you. Thanks for listening. For more resources, check the show notes. We put a lot of effort into them. And remember, we don't have a crystal ball, so let us know about your project. Visit bitcoin.review to find out how to get in touch.